The 10-minute drill.
This is a big one.
Covered by Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
On 1010XL.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Hit it. Yeah. All right. Sports concepts and rationalizations coming your way. We call it the 10-minute drill. We do it each and every morning except for Super Tuesdays. And Beef, at the end of this segment, we like to give out a little prize. What are we giving out today, Fred?
We like to hook up the Googans, and we'll start your weekend the right way with a belly full of Woody's barbecue. You'll get $25 on us. Stay tuned for that.
Well, the Big Ten starts tonight, which is great, and I'm glad there's college football. It's late for me. I saw an interview with Scott Van Pelt, had the Big Ten commission on last night, and I don't know why they didn't start earlier. Look, it is what it is. The Corona's out there. You can't tell me right now it's any, safer for them to play or anything than if they had started when everybody else started. The ACC started actually first in the early September. The SEC started in late September. Florida's only played 3 games, and we are headed towards Halloween after this weekend.
Well, the Big Ten's failure to start until now is going to make it a joke. They're going to have teams that play 3 games and the season's going to be over. They've got no built-in bye weeks.
Correct.
There's no rescheds. If the game gets canceled, it's a no contest. Move on to next week.
Right.
So if like what happened, Florida would have had back-to-back no contests in the Big Ten
Can't make them
schedule.
up.
And you can't make them up.
Right.
It's dumb. I mean, what are we doing? It's intramural sports. It doesn't matter.
They'll get in as many as they can, and we shall see. And but anyway, it does start this weekend, so that's good. So my point is, man, enjoy every game that you got when your team's playing because you don't know how many you're going to get this year.
I'll be watching the World Series tonight, but I'll be glad to flip over to a college football game that's not SMU versus Texas State.
Yeah.
We got.
Is that on tonight, too?
I don't know. Do they play each
SMU
other this
plays
week?
Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think.
There are 3 FDS games tonight.
Okay.
Good. Illinois-Wisconsin is an interesting game.
Yeah.
Wisconsin has got, title hopes. I don't know if they're, veritable or not, but they do have designs on having a good year, and Illinois beat them last year. There's probably be some bad blood in that. On to that World Series game 3. I said this earlier. I'll get your quick flash reaction to it.
I've got a quick flash.
I think, and this is dangerous, so it's game 3 of a 7-game series. I understand that. I think the winner of tonight's game wins the series. I think it's that important with each of them having an ace on the mound. The rest of the games aren't going to have that same dynamic. It's not always going to be both teams using the guy they plan on going 6 innings and winning a game for them.
Well, that's a good point. And I'll talk about it in a second, but I have a question for you. How did both teams handle travel day yesterday?
Well, it was exhausting. I heard that, in fact, the Dodgers, they got held over in Atlanta. They blocked the airport on their connecting flight.
Right,
so,
Yesterday was travel day in the World Series. But no, because both pitchers are so important to their clubs. But I think the Dodgers, this is more of a must-win for the Dodgers just because they're using –
but if the Dodgers do win, I think they'll win. And if the Rays win, I guess I don't know if I stated it correctly. Every other pitching matchup has an advantage.
Yeah,
is kind of what
I would say this, though. I'm not willing to say the Rays are going to win the World Series if they win tonight. So that's where I would come back to
that's understandable.
Yeah,
that's why when you say something like I think the winner tonight wins the series, that's the limb you step out on.
Yeah, and that's cool. Yeah. That's fine. I'm not willing to go there, but I do think it's an important game, especially for the Dodgers. Like Charlie Morton's big game. And if he gets to Game 7, he'll be out there again.
And Buehler's their best pitcher,
right? But
and I'm saying that with Clayton Kershaw.
Charlie Morton's only going to go.
He'll go 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah. But that's better than the 2 or 3 that sometimes these pitchers.
The Rays, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, tell me if I'm right here. Are did I read this right? 63-0 in their last 63 games.
When they lead after like 6 or something?
6 or 7 innings. Maybe 6 innings. Maybe 7. I don't remember. Does that sound right? Do you remember hearing that?
No, I saw that somewhere. And it was, I would venture towards 6 because it was even more eye-popping. Like after 7, that's 2 innings. It seemed like it was.
Which would tell you, though, that 2 things. One, they do have a great bullpen, obviously. Man, what I would give to be 63-0 in our last 63 after 6 or 7 innings. And we're not the Metropolitans. And 2, Kevin Cash handles that bullpen magnificently.
I know I'm in the minority. And what do we get for Game 2 ratings? They go up at all, or they stay terrible?
Let me look.
I'm in the minority, and I should be commended because my season ended so painfully. But I'm enjoying the World Series.
That was worse.
I've watched every inning.
8.95. Least watched World Series game of all time.
8.95 million.
Yeah.
Boy, there is something. I don't know what the answer is, Dan. We keep attaching answers to declining sports TV ratings, and then they don't. Those turn out that's not the only reason.
Yeah. There are many reasons for the national ratings decline being seen in many sports. But
what are they?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they suggesting? Because I think I could argue against anything they suggest. It's been a whopping 6 months since sports shut down. Why did everything?
The lowest average viewership on record is 12.6 million viewers for the 2012 World Series, which was the Giants' sweep of the Tigers, which sounded bad. I mean, it wasn't a marquee matchup, right?
Well, yeah, but I'd say the Tigers and Giants are much more marquee than the Rays. The Rays are the least marquee team in all of baseball.
Yes. They don't have any fans of themselves. Sorry, Tampa fans. I know. Don't jump in. I know
They're
you're a
growing
few
a little
out
bit,
there.
but the point is
they
fair.
should be, though. I mean, I don't want to go back to listen. Tampa's title town right now. They got the cup, and they're trying to win a World Series, and they got Tom Brady, and everything's great. But they awful in terms of supporting the Rays. Awful, and that's already been established.
I know that.
We don't need to go over that. That's just a fact.
They are missing a golden opportunity, and the reasons or the complaints may not be ideal. Yeah. But you do wonder what Tampa could be with a really nice state-of-the-art stadium.
You'd like to
know.
Outdoor,
beautiful, smaller stadium that would just, take advantage of having baseball in Florida.
Well, the idea would be to put it in Tampa.
Yeah, I don't know the geography. I know that's a big complaint, but
I don't buy it all.
Yeah, right.
You know me. I'm no longer an anti-Tampa. I'm pro-Tampa.
If you live at King and the Bear, it's not keeping you from going to a Jag game.
Right. If you're a Dodger fan, you deal with an hour and a half of traffic on the 405.
That's always been a weak argument, and again, that's coming from somebody. I don't know the geography. I just know all they talk about. You got to drive over that causeway to get to a game.
If you're a Met or Yankee fan, getting to those stadiums.
I drive to Atlanta from Jacksonville. Yeah, okay, if the Braves played in Daytona, I'd be there 50 times a year. Yeah. So that's a weak. But again, you're putting baseball in an area full of older people who have had baseball rooting interests their whole life, many of them the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
And it's hard to cultivate and grow a fan base.
Well, they've been there long enough and had enough success.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But I do think now the only way to really know.
What year did the Rays begin play? They've been around, 20 years?
98, same as the D-backs.
Yeah, 98.
98.
That's all, huh?
And then the Fish were when?
93.
So
93, 94.
So they put the Marlins in the state
Marlins
of Florida.
and Rockies were the same year.
Okay, so they put the Marlins in the state of Florida, and then they thought, what a great place to put baseball.
This is going great, so let's put another one in there?
Yeah, was that?
Well, Tampa, here's what happened with Tampa now. You got to remember this. The Giants were going to move to Tampa in a minute. There were two or three teams that were really – so I think baseball in some way put a team in Tampa just to keep everyone else from threatening to go to Tampa.
Yeah.
And so they added another team in the state of Florida. What should have happened when it became vogue a few years ago is they should have contracted those teams. They should have combined the Marlins and the Rays.
And put them in Boca.
No, they could have played
in the middle.
Play in both. Play in both. Play for a month in Miami and a month in Tampa and combine the rosters and built a new team.
How is that cockamamie idea of playing half the year in Montreal and half the year in Tampa going?
That didn't work.
Is that still out there or no?
I haven't heard anything about it.
Gone.
Yeah, I think that's gone too.
Well, we'll see when they do 162.
That was a classic, though. Remember that?
We'll see when it's 162 with fans.
This is an interesting take on the text line.
Like when the Rays come back next year, whether they've made the World Series, will they have fans a noticeable uptick in?
I don't know. Go look at the 2009 attendance and let me know.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know why. I mean, we've been here the whole time. I do feel like there are more legitimate Rays fans now than there was then. Then I felt like it. I do think that the state has grown and they've been around longer, and we would not have had very. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. There is something on the text line I agree with, and I've talked about this before. I think baseball is undersold as to the overall interest. I think more people are interested in baseball than the football only bullies would have you believe. Like I've told you before, I'll go off somewhere this time of year or a week ago, and people are talking baseball. They're talking about the playoffs. They're talking about this matchup. And on the text line, quote this morning, quote, I'm not going to quote the text line. On the text line, I don't see how it's the least watched World Series. Almost everybody I talk to is watching it.
Yeah.
Have you watched the World Series?
Yes.
Beef, you haven't watched it, have you?
I've watched a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
and I know because of your schedule. I didn't mean like
those late first pitches are tough.
Yeah, I've watched it. I've watched a ton of it.
I didn't watch
watched
enough
every
to
inning.
learn how to pronounce Lau's name, but I've watched a little bit.
Yeah, no. Well, that
is
that
true.
was the teaching moment for you through all this.
Yeah.
So I don't. How about a quickie poll? Have you watched? Are you watching the World Series?
You got it, bro.
Is that okay? Does that measure up to the high lofty standards of the quickie poll?
Quickie poll, yeah.
The quickie poll is like a pulse poll. Every now and then we got to pulse poll you and see what everyone is.
Do you just want yes and no, or part? Do you want part of it, or
I don't. Yeah, I don't. How to do it?
How do you measure?
Well, yeah. Do some, most, all, none.
Yeah.
Because then you can at least put some, most, and all into the. That'll give you yes or no.
All of it. It's most of it. Most, but not all. Not an inning. Or glanced.
There you go.
Yeah, quickie poll. Quickie poll's up and running. We'll take your response and see what happens. We'll give you about.
Here's that same argument about the stadium from a Rays fan. The stadium
Right.
location is bad, south end of St. Pete, a hassle to get to.
Yeah, I know, but
again, people drive in from Baldwin to the Jags game, so it's a bit of a hassle.
It's a hassle for anyone to go just about anywhere.
Go to a metropolitan downtown and go watch the Red Sox. You think you're pulling up to the wall? I mean, it doesn't.
Well, when people who live in stadiums are generally in the downtowns. That means you're driving in from the suburbs to go to the games.
It's a weak argument. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And look, Rays fans, it may be an argument for you, but I wouldn't go public with it.
Right.
Keep it amongst yourself, because when you say that to real venerable baseball fans, it's a joke.
Yeah.
You think Dodger fans all live in Chavez Ravine?
Yeah.
Are they driving in from Orange County or up from south?
Yeah.
No, of course. I would say that your average commute for a Rays fan is no longer than the average commute for every other fan.
I would think too.
So stop talking about it. It's silly.
I would think so.
All right.
What they need to do, though, the one thing that needs to go forward is to what Atlanta has done and others, St. Louis has done, actually Jacksonville's trying to do with Lot J, is you build up around it and give people places to go to have meals.
And that's fair.
Hang
and
out.
do you want to do that
Now,
if your
there's
big
nothing there
vision
in
is
Tampa.
not to stay there?
Yeah.
So I get that, too.
Yeah.
You got that. Look,
Make it like the centerpiece of an entertainment district.
I've been to the stadium. I've been down there to games.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite stadium. I think it's overplayed how bad it is.
Right.
I think Beef hates it. Don't you?
No, I don't hate it.
You don't hate
I've been to a game there. I thought it was great.
Yeah, someone hated it. I can't remember. Somebody was bad.
I hate the Suns, so I loved it.
But I
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little, it seemed like it could have been a little brighter. But other than that, I mean, it wasn't like some awful, baseball experience. If you're like one of those traditionals and you only want baseball outdoors, then yes, sure, it would be, not the atmosphere you're looking for. But there was nothing around the stadium. That's fair.
Right. There's nothing
there.
No.
You're going there only. So that's another good point. If you could say you lived in Tampa and you get off at work at 5 and the Rays play, you can go down there and get something like that. For people that haven't been to the new Atlanta stadium experience, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
St. Louis has that, and other, like Beef said, you're making it the centerpiece of an entertainment district, and that's.
I was going to throw a topic at you here in the 10-minute drill, but I think I want to do yesterday's shocker of all shockers, at least to me. You want to talk about coming out of nowhere, but the Unique Ngakoue trade yesterday.
Yeah.
And what it means for a lot of teams, and for Jan and for the NFL, I think there's a lot of tentacles off of Unique Ngakoue being traded. Yeah, that's right, gang. Traded already. It's leaving the Jags. He's been traded again, this time by the Vikings.
It's like somebody told me, I think my son said this, he went to sleep 1-5 and woke up 5-1.
Oh, Jan did. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's correct. All right. This is the drill. It's an All-American Friday, All-American Roll-Off and Recycling.
Caller number 4, Beef, 641-1010. Tell them what they're going to get.
I like it. Caller number 4 right now, 641-1010. Going to go home on a Friday night with a yummy $25 gift certificate to enjoy some Woody's barbecue on us. So call now, 641-1010.